Hi, this is Asim.
This is Sujoy.
This is Amrita.
And you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast about the three main Khans of the Hindi film industry.
Amir,
Salman,
And Shara.
Hi, you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast regular feed. Thank you so much for your support over the years. We now have a Patreon channel with bonus content and exclusive merch for those of you who would like to support us. Every dollar goes towards creating more and better content. Visit us at patreon.com/Khandaan podcast.
Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Khandaan Podcast. My name is Asim Bernie, and I'm joined with my lovely co-hosts Sujoy and Amrita. Hi, Sujoy. Hey, Amrita.
hey everybody.
Hello.
How are you guys feeling?
Tired.
I can't believe it's only been I was at lunch today with a friend and we were just saying that, I can't believe it's been less than a week since the election results came out in India. It feels like an eternity has passed already.
Well, I want to keep the election talk for the other podcast because I think we're recording this now, but this will get posted later. We're going to do another podcast before. We're going to do Rang De Basanti, and that's going to come before. So let's keep the election talk for that because I think we'll have a lot to talk about there. Mm-hmm. This episode, we're doing Ek Ladka Ek Ladki, like I just mentioned. And this is a special dedication to our friend and patron, Hanisha, who's moving back to Dubai from London. It was lovely to have her for a while, but she's off to new adventures. And we asked, as a parting gift, what can we review? And she picked Ek Ladka Ek Ladki under extreme duress because we were in a restaurant. Nobody could get desserts. There was no chai. And we were like, pick a movie now. Like, we were pulling IMDb up, like which movie we haven't covered. So we landed on Ek Ladka Ek Ladki.
And Amrita, we actually walked to a chai wala this time again.
And of course, there was no chai at the end of it. I bet there was.
There was.
This time there was chai. But we were also all sober. So that does also changes things.
Asim is like the Gandalf of the Khandaan podcast. He's like constantly telling people that they should walk across England in search of like some mystical brew. And then there's like nothing when we end up at the end of it.
The fellowship of the chai.
Of the non-existent chai.
Yeah. We were talking about it. There's a new thing in London now that there's a lot of like desi chai places. That wasn't around like a couple of years ago.
This is what Asim says, but to this date, I have never seen one of these new chai places that he's talking about. He's constantly saying, oh, there is one in that neighborhood. It's great. We'll walk to it. And then 2 hours later, we'll hand up over there and it's like, it's closed because it's Tuesday. Like, what kind of rubbish place is that?
I love that Amrita is still mad about it. You can hear the anger in the voice still.
It wasn't even once. It was multiple times.
I love it. You need to come back. I'll make you do more tricks for chai.
Like, I'll make it at home.
Speaking of things, tricks, I was watching a bit of Shah Rukh Khan and Salman Khan songs this morning, and the Tiger 3 songs came up, and I was like watching them. I was like, was I too harsh on that movie? This actually is quite good. Like the Leke Prabhu Ka Naam thing. We were so hyped. like Salman, look how good he looks. Like, look at Katrina, man. She's dancing on a mountain.
This is what happens when it's called like having standards, and then like you see what other kind of shit is coming out.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Like now that you've seen Badi Miyan, Choti Miyan,
I know.
you're like, wow, Tiger 3.
Yeah, what a cinematic masterpiece. Like a decently shot. Like there was a shot like he's in the she's in the hut in Switzerland, and the door is open, and Salman just walks back, and you have like mountains behind him, like the Swiss mountains. And I was like, that's a beautiful shot. I was just impressed with a competent shot. Like that's where we are in cinema at the moment. You know,
Yeah. Sad times to be. Speaking of songs, though, since we are talking about Ek Ladka Ek Ladki, I went into this movie fully hoping the Rain song to appear. I watched the entire movie. I knew there was a Rain song with Neelam in this movie.
Yeah.
Then that did not turn up. And the only song that I could recognize from this movie was Kitna Pyar Tumhe Karte Hain, right? And then after the movie, I went and searched for that song. And then I realized it was not in this movie, in Ek Ladka Ek Ladki. Tip Barish is from Afsana Pyar Ka with Amir Khan and Neelam. So I watched this whole movie thinking, what happened to that Rain song with Neelam? It never appeared.
No, but there is one in which, like, there is one song in this in which Neelam gets wet in the rain. I thought that's the one that you were talking about. No?
I don't know.
You basically had what I had when we were doing a Manmohan Desai movie. You're like, Hima Malini ka hai.
Neelam had a moment in time when she acted with both the Khans, Amir and Salman. I don't know. Well, she did a cameo in Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, right, with the Neelam show. But that was it, yeah.
Let's get into it. Let's get into Ek Ladka Ek Ladki, a movie that came out in 1992, a remake of Goldie Hawn's Overboard. It's basically Neelam is a rich, arrogant heiress who gets amnesia, and then Salman Khan puts her in his house and forces her to take care of his kids as revenge for her breaking his eggs. And then
so much metaphor.
And the layers of the screenwriting.
Mere ande toot gaye.
End up falling in love, and she gives up her riches to take care of these 3 kids. That's basically the story. And I'm telling you this because I don't think a lot of people know about this movie. I don't think a lot of people remember this movie. I think this is one of those vague memories of people that, I watched this 30 years ago, and I remember it being good then, right? But Amrita, what were your thoughts revisiting it 30 years later?
So I am one of those people that didn't like it even 30 years ago. Like I don't like Overboard. Like I don't like the original, like the Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell movie. I don't like it. Like the whole Taming of the Shrew theme is my least favorite in any type of literature. Like I don't like it. I don't like Taming of the Shrew as a play. I don't really care for it as a theme in books or in cinema. And Overboard in particular is just like very 70s and that is not a compliment. Like it's definitely a derogatory thing. I don't like it. The humor never connected with me. And I didn't like it when Madonna and Guy Ritchie made it. I don't like any of the versions of Overboard. And this one is no exception. Like I didn't like it, but I had forgotten how 90s this movie is.
Yeah.
Like that I had forgotten, and that I greatly enjoyed. Like I enjoyed it so much, and we will discuss that at length.
Sujoy, what about you? Do you like Taming Shrews?
Well, I'm the least read in person on this podcast, right? So I have no connection to Taming of the Shrew. Overboard, I barely managed to catch like the first 20-30 minutes to see the universe of that movie, and I thought it was so camp, but also like the charm of Kurt Russell and the fieriness of Goldie Hawn just worked for me in that. Like you can tell in which sort of a pitch that movie is operating, and that the drama and the sassiness of both of those characters just worked for me. Maybe I'll continue watching it and find myself wrong of how that story evolves, because obviously that movie sort of informs this Ek Ladka Ek Ladki. And Ek Ladka Ek Ladki, as such, I realized that I had never seen this movie.
Wow.
Yeah, this is my first time watching anything to do with this movie, except for that Kitna Pyar Tumhe Kar Sakte Hain song.
Where did you watch it?
YouTube, I think.
Yeah, also, yeah, it's available on YouTube, right? I don't know if it had subtitles or not.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think it's really one of those forgotten movies that like probably doesn't even have subtitles. So I think a lot of people might have trouble watching it, but maybe you can, play it on YouTube and then put your earphones on and listen to Overboard at the same time and try to sync up both movies and figure it out that way. That could be yours.
Skip the songs.
Yeah, exactly. I remember this movie fondly from back in the time. And I think a lot of our listeners will be in that zone where they have fond memories of this. But rewatching it, I had a lot of trouble with this movie because I'm not that same person that I was 30 years ago. And, I am much more aware of things that I was back in that era. And also just a lot of cinematic conventions have changed, right? Like, this is basically the cinema we lost when we became woke, Amrita. This is what happened,
This is our sanskar.
Yeah.
When we lost it.
We can't even trick a amnesiac woman into taking care of our 3 gande bacche, forcing her to work on our ando ka farm, Like, we can't even teach a woman a lesson now, Like, what have we lost? Like, what are our traditions, So this movie is like a little bit, and this I'd forgotten. It's a little bit of Mr. India and a little bit of Satya Pe Satta, right? It has both of those vibes in it, and but very, very low.
By way of Feroz Khan, because they are all in a farm somewhere. There's a horse, there's a dog, there's a monkey, and obviously Kheti Badi and all of that. Like,
Salman is having so much fun in this farm. Like, the thing is, like, Salman is a very young guy at this moment, right? I think this is probably the first time he actually was on a farm and he was like, this is actually fun. I'm going to spend a lot of time in farms now. And that's when he ended up with the Panvel plan. I think this is where the Panvel plan, was started. Like this Ek Ladka Ek Ladki. I think it was a tough watch for me to sit through this time. I feel one of the problems is like, I just can't get into the comedy of it. I just also don't think Salman and Neelam have any chemistry together. Like, we talk about this now, right? Salman has no chemistry with his leads. And this is the first time I saw this in young Salman. Now, it's like, I don't think they even like each other, like they're like completely in different zones and in different movies. There is no chemistry whatsoever, at least in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think, Amrita?
Yeah. So I think, you're right in that it's, Salman very early on became that kind of person where you can immediately tell when he likes somebody or if he's into them, right? Like with Aishwarya, you watched Hum Dil De Chuke Hain Sanam and you knew he was 150% into her, right? It was just like very palpable. And it's interesting to me that Sujoy was talking earlier on about Overboard and the tension between Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, because the sexual tension is basically the foundation of Overboard as a story. Like it's the story of this man who's like tricking this woman because he doesn't like her, but at its core, it's about a man who doesn't like this woman, but is incredibly attracted to her. And it's about this woman who doesn't understand why she's not supposed to like this man, which is like her subconscious telling her, but is also really attracted to him. And they have this incredible sexual chemistry and tension between those two characters that just like sort of builds and builds and builds. And in this one, I don't know if I agree that Salman doesn't like Neelam. I think Salman is basically treating her as if she's his kid sister.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah.
That's his entire
Like he already has the hum saath saath hai energy in this time. Like, you can marry the dumpy guy. I am too hot. Like, that's basically what Salman is vibing.
There's like all these songs where like they're supposed to be this cute little couple, and he's all but giving her like a tupply on her head.
Yeah. He wants to only spend time with the kids. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
you know, he only cares about the kids and the murgi and the ande. That's it. Like, you know, he does not care about Neelam whatsoever.
Can we also talk about Salman's wardrobe, because he has this excellent outfit? Asim, you're the clothes horse of this podcast. Please tell us about the outfit.
I was watching the outfits and I realized this is the only outfits of Salman that I did not copy. The only wardrobe, except in the songs. There's certain shirts that he's wearing that I did have. That Salman was wearing, because those are pretty cool. Yeah, he was wearing the bell bottom because those were dream sequences, right? Those were like all fantasy songs. So he was wearing those shirts which had embroidery on the shoulders and on the collars, which I had. I had like a purple one with like beige embroidery on it, and he was also wearing like really big bell bottom trousers, which is super cool too. Which I'm looking for now. If anybody knows a good baggy trousers in beige, I'm looking for one fair at the moment. So yeah, yes, but the look that you want to talk about is his farmer look, right? His banyan on leather vest and Indiana Jones look. You know what he's wearing?
Yes. What kind of farmer dresses like that in the first place?
This came
Yeah,
out of the pen of Feroz Khan, as I said.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot begin to tell. There is no way that words can do proper justice to this outfit. Like, it is something that you have to see for yourself. I highly encourage everybody to go to YouTube and at least watch like a song. Like, if you don't want to see the entire movie, watch a song.
But guy, I do get it. Like, this is the thing. Me and Salman, we vibe together. We share ideas, you know, like the thing is, you know, and I'll explain to you what happened here, right? It was Ramzan, like a month ago, like, you know, for me, like I was fasting and it had an effect on my body. I couldn't work out and stuff like that, right? It happens. I'm getting back into the gym, right? And, you know, I'm doing like full body workouts and like arms and things like that. And like, you might have noticed, I posted some pictures yesterday, which were very strategically where my arm looks huge. You think it's just an innocent picture, right? But the arm looks huge. You know, ये बंदा उठाता है, like he lifts, you know, like
ये बंदा उठाता है.
brother lifts, you know. And when you do that, just naturally, you need to unleash the guns, you know. So this was Salman when he was after an arm workout, like, bicep dick, you know, that's what it is. That's what
Asim Barney, I did not know your game. I thought it was like Betty Chan, but he was also like, quality is also here in this picture.
Yeah.
I have this such a strong memory of Asim and his wife just like walking. You know, it's like a drizzling in London, like April. And the two of them looking like incredibly Parisian and like, you know, just really well dressed and walking across the courtyard at like Somerset House. And now I'm just imagining like his wife looking just as beautiful as usual. And then Asim is tagged up.
Just to confirm, I was not wearing a tank top and a leather vest, just to like set the record straight. This is in her imagination. Amrita is thinking, kabhi chaliya lagta hai suddenly. What's happening here? Oh God. Shall we get back to the movie? I think we've told enough personal stories.
I'll have some. I have some connection with other Salman movies that we have talked about this on this podcast, and that is the first time I think we started talking about the running theme of nipples and everything. Is a Salman movie where we talked about Race 3, right? With Bobby Deol and
the nipple
Salman.
verse started with Race 3,
and here when we get introduced to this world of the barn, right? The kids and Salman and
World of the barn.
yeah, and there is the other guy, Chuchu Chachu,
Chuchu uncle.
Oh, yeah.
and he's played by Salim Khan Ding Dong, who that's his name on his IMDb page, Salim Khan Ding Dong, because he was Ding Dong in Hero, right? Which is an unfortunate name because you know what ding dong means. But also, it's unfortunate because his name is Chuchu in this movie, and in Manipuri slang.
I just want to point out that Sujoy has been talking for like 5 minutes, and in 5 minutes he's gone to like 50 different tangents without stopping.
I'm bringing
and each of them are being hilarious. Anyway, okay, so Chuchu Chachu, what about
Chuchu in Manipuri slang means breasts, okay? And they don't spare calling him Chuchu Chachu throughout the movie, and I'm like rolling laughing whenever he shows up. And then in one scene, he's I don't know for what reason, he's got his top off, right? And he's got boobs.
I didn't know you were going to start body shaming.
Shaming? I'm not body shaming, but one calls him Chuchu in that scene. I'm dying laughing during that movie, during that particular scene.
But coming back to the kids, these kids, there's 3 kids, they got no direction. They just let them run wild. They don't tell them where the camera is, where to look and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think they just call them Chotu, Motu and Arbaz, I think, Arbaz. And immediately there's way too much child nudity going on in this barn. This is an unsanitary, unsafe situation for these kids. And clearly, he likes the last bacha. Like Salman really likes the last bacha. He doesn't care for the other two, the Motu and the big one, Arbaz. He only cares for that little one. And I thought it was sweet because you can see it that Salman and him connect. And he even had like a role as a kind of a police officer in one of Salman's recent movies. So they still have a relationship together like 32 years later. So that's kind of sweet, right? But
I think Chotu also played the young Shah Rukh in Bazigar, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, same actor.
But because we are talking about, references, I do also think that this movie is in the shared Andaz Apna universe.
Yeah, for sure. The same airport through which Karisma and Ravina came is the same airport through which Neelam came.
Yeah. So here are my things why this is a shared universe. First of all, Salman Khan is very Prem Khurrana coded, right? He looks like Dr. Prem Khurrana, very much. He runs a Ando Ka farm, which is Harish Rawal's dream. Right? The journalist asked very inappropriate questions to a girl that just came from the US.
Yeah.
Again, Andaz Apna Apna. And Neelam is Tilu.
Yeah. Neelam is Tilu. And you've forgotten Tiku Talsania as the cop.
As the cop, yeah. Who is acting as Tilu. What's his name? Tiku Talsania always acts, and I remember that I do not like Tiku Talsania at all. And Andaz Apna Apna is the only film that I can appreciate him in. I do not like him. I do not like him at all. Like when I say I don't like Johnny Lever, I don't also like Tiku Talsania.
Sabut kya hai?
Yeah, they were really pushing that one. Oh, and that guy, right? Akela.
Yeah. He's also there.
Yeah. So also the funniest thing about this movie is that the producer's name is Didi Ande. God bless.
So yeah, Ek Ladka Ek Ladki is Andaz Apna Apna shared universe. We have established this. I don't know. Again, like, I don't want to make this like a whole, men's rights, feminist take on this movie.
Yeah.
But I also have to add this because I did feel, and this is a thing, I don't know if you've been noticing this. Have you watched the trad wife thing on the internet lately?
No.
Okay, so let me explain to Sujoy. There's this thing about conservative women on the internet going back to a very patriarchal life. My husband, he's earning money, so I have to bake bread by grinding my own flour and then, making my own chocolate from scratch to make him a chocolate cake. And it takes like 7 weeks to actually make that chocolate cake, but they're doing everything from scratch. I don't know if you've seen those videos. Amrita, who is that girl that kind of started that thing? Is Nara something?
Yeah, Nara Smith. She's like this black woman who's married to this white Mormon guy out of Utah. So when Asim says that, women on the internet, it's primarily American women and specifically like Mormons. So, and I don't think a lot of people quite understand just how expensive that lifestyle is. So, I know there's like a lot of people out there who are just like, this would be, I think there's been an uptick in a lot of people being like, the man will go out and like have a job and then the woman will stay home and like make the home. And I'm like, with what money exactly?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just one of those insane, men's fantasy that we're kind of playing out where, I'm gonna put you in a hut away from everybody all of your family, all of your friends, and you bake my bread from scratch. You take care of my kids. They're actually not even her kids. He's tricking her into believing that she's the mom of these 3 kids, which is such an evil thing to do when you think about it. Right? When you think about it, take away the comedic setup of it. It is such an evil thing to make somebody. And he's also basically saying, we had the first one when you were 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah, that was.
I was like, dude, like what? Like who wrote this? Like how was that even a funny kind of setup in that time? And it's also just this thing where men want to put women in this situation, and and that's how you prove that you love me as a woman, because that's what you go through to love me. But if I ever get rich, you're all a bunch of bitches anyway. You only want me for my money. So it's like a trap. I'm mentioning this because a lot of men are also falling for this crazy idea about, I'm going to get rich and then all the women will be just, piling up. But then all of the women piling up are only piling up because they're interested in your money, right? Like it's a crazy kind of like trick that men are playing on themselves that will just lead to misery. And I was just kind of finding these tropes already set in Ek Ladka Ek Ladki. So I had to just kind of mention it. I'm not going to get into it a little bit more than this, but it really, really bugged me just because it's at this moment, that's a lot what's going on the internet too, And it just, this whole Andrew Tate, Emma, men's rights kind of like, set up. On the other hand, with the trad wife thing that's going on, and it starts in America, it's going to spread everywhere, right? Like it's going to come here. We're going to have somebody in Essex doing this very soon, and then somebody's going to do this in Germany, so it's going to be spreading. But it's just, it's a terrible setup that's going to make nobody happy, And I just kind of want to mention that it really, really bugged me in this movie. Yeah, any points that you had, Sujoy, that you kind of noticed watching this movie for the first time?
Yeah, what we have already talked about is the sort of belief that these two people love each other or fall in love in a way comes out of nowhere, especially how Salman treats her. After they establish that they are married, but she's, forgotten that their marriage exists. And then Salman just out of the blue, sort of throws up this relationship arrangement that they have, that they sleep in different beds, and then he goes out and parties and goes to cabaret nights and then sleeps around with other women, and she's supposed to understand that, and that was thrown out of the blue. But like, he emphasizes that they have that arrangement for some reason, but they are supposed to still love and take care of the kids, and she's like, what the hell did I marry into,
Yeah, no, he says we can't sleep together because we have 3 kids. We're going to have 4 kids and 5 kids and 6 kids. That's why they need to sleep in different rooms. And I also have to mention, he's taking this revenge. I mean, I made it jokingly that she broke her eggs, but she also puts him in jails for 3 days and one of the kid gets hurt. So that is the justification to, do what he's doing to her and basically teach her a lesson, Let's like basically the Kader Khan slap setup, Amrita, anything that kind of stood out for you?
This was perhaps the last time that I saw like a Pekingese in a Hindi movie, like the dog. It was just a very it literally looked like a rodent with a wig. But it was perhaps the last time, this used to be the type of dog that you could see Zeenat Aman carry in in the black. Namak Haram or whatever it was, not Namak Haram, what was it? But you know what I'm talking about. Back in the 70s and all, I guess this type of dog used to be really popular, and then it just went out of fashion, and I'd forgotten that it even existed until I saw this one poor little dog, and then. Yeah. And also, how good is Anupam Kher, honestly, as the slimy uncle? He is actually really good as that. I was you should be the villain and everything, actually.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything good or bad about Anupam Kher. I was thinking, was Neelam that bad?
Was
she that? No, not as an
one note,
the person that she's playing on screen, the rich heiress. Was she that bad? Would you not be mad if you've ordered a speedboat and it's not arrived? She wants to go speedboating.
She's basically a poor person's idea of a rich person, she's yay, she comes in and they give her a bouquet of roses and she's like, ये इतने छोटे क्यों हैं? माली से कहो सब निकाल के फेंक दे. मैंने रिसर्च किया है.
कैलिफोर्निया में रोज रिसर्च करके आई हूँ.
She's a horticulture expert.
It does kind of show that reality that rich girls are basically just getting nonsense degrees in America, right? That's what it's basically.
But then she applies that later in the farming and all those roses come into play.
Yeah. How long was she kidnapped for though? How long does it take to, redo an entire farm? Because that's the thing that I also don't understand. How far is this village? Where is she been held? Because obviously Salman has access to nightclubs, so it cannot be that far unless it's really dingy village nightclubs, cabarets. I don't know where he's going. No, he's not going to actual cabarets, but it's either it's very far or it's very close, but make up your mind where this farm is. It should be held.
Also, what struck me is the 80s aesthetic that business kar lenge. Salman has a already existing anda and sabzi wala supply chain, but then he breaks that supply chain and then moves completely to a different industry of providing guldasta. He's created the supply, but demand kahan hai? Where are all his contractors? I'm thinking about that. Kahan se paise aayenge?
Yeah, and he's for somebody who's selling ande to hotels, he seems to have a lot of sway. He's just like an ex-seller. I don't know why he's being treated like he's royalty. It's just a funny, very funny setup. Also, so she gets kidnapped, and speaking of Anupam Kher, he initially doesn't even know that she's alive, and he gets these gundes are telling him that she's alive and she's living on this farm, and then he sends them to kidnap her. And then it turns into a comedic setup where the kids save her, and then they're just having a casual dinner about mom's kidnapping. Mom kidnap ho gayi thi, you know? Ye bachchon ne bacha liya. You know, like, what the hell is going on in this movie?
And bache like Hira and Moti came to rescue also.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just us. They were being very humble.
Yeah. It's a trip. And also I found, so to prove to Neelam that she is his wife, because she doesn't believe it. She's like, yeah, these kids are too old. The house is too dingy. Like, why don't we have any pictures of us? So Salman Khan photoshops some picture. And this also is Sujoy's point that this is a Feroz Khan universe, because this is actually the worst Photoshop that we have ever seen. But because it's not Photoshop the program, it is an actual Photoshop, which is they've just taken photos and then glued them on top of them.
And took a photo of that photo.
Yeah, exactly. That's how he tricks an actual Photoshop.
Yeah.
You know,
But
like,
somehow this is better than the special effects that we saw in Janashin.
yes. More believable, at least, you know, like, it's,
Neelam phas gayi.
yeah. So yeah, maybe Fardeen Khan had to be amnesiac to kind of be a bit more believable. Yeah. Oh man, Janashin, man, that movie, it's crazy. Any songs that's the other part that really surprises me. I thought the songs were really weak in this movie.
I think that's why most people don't remember this movie, is because the songs are like a nothing burger. Like, you know?
Apart from the Kitna Pyar Tumhe Karte Hain, I like all the other movies are terrible. Like all the other songs of this movie, they even have like the A B C D E F G H I kind of song on the Jeep together. Everybody's singing to Anda and Murgi and all of that.
Because if somebody would give you a check or come to you and say, can you compose a song with the words Ek Ladka Ek Ladki, and you were sitting in the bathroom, this is a song you would compose. It's like, Ek Ladka, Ek Ladki. That's it. That's the song. So I was like, yeah, they really did not put any effort into any of this movie. Like, this movie is running on vibes pretty much, you know, like it's,
and also that other song, Phool Ye Nahi Arman, or whatever, the dream sequence where Salman and Neelam are supposed to dance or, you know, do fantasy sequences together. It very much is the Govinda Neelam vibe of going to Vrindavan Gardens and Piche fountain hoga. We would run and dance in retro looking shirts and dresses. It's terrible. And somehow Suresh Wadekar singing for Salman Khan is worse, man. I don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else we have to say about this movie, to be honest. Like, I was really hoping this would be more fun. But unfortunately it wasn't. I think, it's just a weird time, kind of like time in I think Salman at that moment was making a lot of movies. Like, these were just like movies one after the other, they were making them. I don't think this was like a good period necessarily for Salman. All of these movies did good money. You know, I remember like this was probably a hit. We cannot find box office numbers of that era, I think. But this was one of those things that I actually feel that the younger stars should be doing in a way, you know, just work more. And I think this is what in a way established these stars, that they would just like continue making one movie after the other. This would not be as big of a hit as the other ones, either musically or critically or even at the box office. But people would just go watch a new Salman movie, right? And it's like there was a what is that movie that came out? Munjia? And Varun Dhawan posted his little reel of him doing a special appearance, right? Because this is kind of a shared universe with Stree and Bhedia and stuff like that. And that's what I was thinking. Like, that's like he hasn't had a movie in a while. Like, he hasn't definitely not a hit in a while. But the only thing he can like keep working is like, let's post a reel of this special appearance I've done, you know? Whereas these guys were just making movies, you know? They were like, okay, nahi chali, next one, you know? And I think that's what, like that's why somebody like Akshay or Salman or, you know, Shah Rukh back in the day, they were unbreakable or unmatchable because they would just like move on one after the other, and not everything would work. But yeah.
I'm looking at his filmography during that time, right? So Sajan was a big hit in 91,
Yeah.
and then came Love, Suryavanshi, Ek Ladka Ek Ladki, Jagruti, Nischay, Chandramukhi, Dil Tera Aashik, Buland. All these movies did not like rise above that Sajan level, and then came Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, which
Yeah.
sort of reset everything, right? So that era of 92, 93 was just Salman making one movie after another without thinking much, you know, like, let's get this done, let's get the paycheck rolling.
It's like investing in meme coins, basically, you know, you just buy a little bit of all of them and hope that one, you know, hits. That's what's happening here. But yeah, it's, I understand that this movie doesn't, you know, like stand up like to Sajan and stuff like that. There's very clear reasons for it. And, I also, do you want to talk a bit about Neelam? Like, what were your thoughts? Like, Amrita, you started it. Like, you know, we moved into her performance in the movie, or her character in the movie. But what do you generally feel about Neelam? Because I don't think we've ever talked about her too much on the show, right?
I mean, she doesn't really bother me as such. I don't know why a lot of people have an issue with her, because it's true, she's one note, and but she's pretty, she's personable.
She has great hair.
She has great hair. She has like great skin. And listen, we sat through Hira Mandi. We know just how bad things can get. So I think at least she looks like herself, and you know, she's like a pleasant presence on screen.
She seems like a non-problematic person.
Yeah,
And very business-minded in real life as well. Like, she has her whole jewelry design thing that's been going since ever. Like, she always had a, you know, an insight into what if this doesn't work out, have something, you know, else cooking in the side. And like, after this movie, I went and watched what was her first song, and that was Tu Rootha To Main Ro Dungi Sanam, from like back in it. And I think the movie was Jawani. The song was composed by R.D. Burman, and it's like, she's so young in that, and I think that whole persona of her always carried through in all her movies. She doesn't have a really standout performance per se in throughout her career, but she's always that she's a pleasant girl in the movie kind of presence that I remember her as.
Because I didn't know her at all. Like, I remember her from the movies, but like, she never really, like, she had this whole thing with Govinda and Chunky Pandey at that time, and those were not like movies that I really watched necessarily. Until I remember, like, Govinda said she's like my sister, and then they stopped casting her in movies or something like that. Something like weird happened at that time. But I just kind of went to her Wikipedia, and I didn't know she was actually born and raised in Hong Kong. And, her family already had a jewelry business back there, and then she was visiting India or something, and she got discovered and cast in a movie straight away, probably as a kid. And then she was like, okay, I'll just give it a shot. And she, you know, I think at that time, I think Love 86 was a big thing for her too, you know, that era. So technically, if Love 86 happened, then she was already working for 6-7 years, right, when this movie came out. So I don't know what the peak of Neelam is. I don't know what the good movies of Neelam are, like what the standout performances are, but I don't think they were even necessary for female performances at that time.
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly. Sad.
By the way, someone I know who follows the podcast wants us to do Swarg.
Oh my God.
What is that?
The Govinda movie?
Sahib ji.
I don't know.
It's a Govinda Rajesh Khanna movie. And one day we will watch it.
Okay.
Paisa do, paisa.
Okay. Is that one of those movies that a woman gets slapped at the end to teach her a lesson?
No. It's much worse.
Much worse things happen. Okay. Is it with Jaya Prada? Is she in it?
No, it's Shabana Azmi.
Okay. I'm confusing maybe with some other movie then.
I just wanted to note something also, that the long list of movies that Neelam did during this time, Ek Ladka Ek Ladki, and then a lot of you know, forgettable movies like Lad Saab, Sahibzade, and then she did Parampara with Yash Raj, right? She was in that, and then sort of tapered off. Then she came back as a cameo in Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. She was also doing a VJ gig on Channel V on a show called Ooh La La, which was a childhood favorite for me. But then obviously the 1999 Hum Saath Saath Hai thing happened. She was caught up in the Black Buck case, and that sort of stopped everything.
Right. Yeah. And then now she's back kind of with Fabulous Lives of Bollywood Wives, which I think is getting a next season too, right? They're going to be, milking that cow as much as they can, I think. That looks like a horrible poster, Amrita, that you just sent to me on WhatsApp. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's Madhavi, not Shabana Azmi. Shabana Azmi was in like another one of these.
This looks like an unserious... a serious version of Raja Babu or something like that,
Well, that's funny that you say that because this was directed by David Dhawan. Written by Anees Bazmi and directed by David Dhawan.
Oh, wow. Should we actually watch this then? Okay.
Yeah.
Chalo.
It's got that song.
Anything else you want to add, Sujoy, about Ek Ladka Ek Ladki?
That song. That's it. That's it for this song. Episode.
Sujoy?
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Can you say it again? It kind of got...
Can you hear me now?
It was like wobbly. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's it. I just said that this movie had Bombay Humko Chamkai.
Amrita, final words on Ek Ladka Ek Ladki. Should people watch it? Should they be like, oh, this is like an undiscovered gem that we should rewatch?
No, absolutely not. Like, this is fine. You can just like skip it. You might want to watch Overboard though. Like, I do think like that movie, like I don't particularly like it, but that's just my personal taste. I think the movie itself is like very well made, and it has like it has a bite to it that this movie doesn't. That movie is about like class and about class in America and about like about gender dynamics, as Asim was saying. All those things you'll see in Overboard, which you will not in this one.
Yeah. And a lot of skin show from both Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn.
Ooh. Is that a good thing?
I don't know. Your taste may vary.
Yeah. It came out in the 80s, right? That one probably? Yeah. It came probably...
87, 86 or something like that.
Yeah. 80s nudity is weird. It makes me uncomfortable.
Because that aesthetic almost veers into, like the softcore porn of that era as well, which was trying to sort of simulate that same aesthetic. So it's weird. Like, you can't tell if the movie is going to show up full nudity or not.
Cool. I think that's it for Ek Ladka Ek Ladki. I think there's also just I have to admit, there's a few movies we have to go through that I don't think it's going to be a pleasant experience for anybody. So I think that's one of the problems we have with Amir Khan's movies. I think we've done all of the good ones and there's only the bad ones left pretty much. We have a few good ones and we're going to be talking about that next week, which is Rang De Basanti. But I hope you guys enjoyed this show. If you like and support our work, sign up to Patreon for Mumnada. I also have to add this, by the way, before I forget. I really want to thank everybody on Patreon because I think it's very tough economically for everybody. People are, losing jobs and work. And I think I really want to thank the people that do support our work and want to, add their dollars to what we are doing. It's so much appreciated. And I also understand the people that sign up and then can't continue because, their economic situation has changed. Never feel bad to cancel the Patreon if it's not, working for you. We completely understand it, but we also really thank the people that, join us. So, no hard feelings either way, but, thank you for supporting our journey. Amrita, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at AmritaIQ.
Sujoy?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at 9E3K. And you can follow us, Khandaan Podcast, on all our socials at Khandaan Podcast. Also, please follow us or subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are very close to 1,000 subscribers so that we can start monetizing that bit. So thank you for all the support.
Yeah. And drop us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com. And thanks for listening and being a listener.
Khandaan Podcast, Founders, Ek Ladka